I started off with placing my tape at the starting point of the paper. Then I mark my shoulder to my bust point length, my shoulder to my under bust length, and my shoulder to my half length and my blouse length. I did the same to this other side: shoulder to bust point, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to half length and blouse length. When I was done with that, I just marked it at the other part of the paper so that it will enable me to have a straight line. So I used my ruler to roll out a straight line. At this point, I didn't know while filming that the pencil mark were not really showing, but if you stay with me throughout the tutorial, you will understand what I'm doing here. So I went ahead to label all the points: bust point, under bust, half length and blouse length. Okay, so when I was done, I marked my shoulder divide by 2. At the point where I mark my shoulder divide by 2, I'll come down by 1 inch for shoulder slope. Then I will come down by the armhole depth. So calculation for the armhole depth is the bust divided by 12 plus 1.5 inch. So after marking that, I'm just going to make sure that I marked the center of my armhole depth. That's what I just did now. Then I roll a straight line at the armhole line, and I also came in by 0.5 inch at the center of the armhole depth. So when I came in by 0.5 inch, I now marked my armhole line. That straight line that I just marked is my armhole line. So here I'm marking my bust divide by 4 at the armhole line that I just marked. At the bust point, I took nipple to nipple measurements. I'm just going to go ahead and take the same nipple to nipple measurement all the way down. Then at the half length from the nipple to nipple measurement line, I'm going to go in by 1 inch on both sides. So I'm going to draw a straight line now for my nipple to nipple measurement line. That's my nipple to nipple measurement line. Then at the blouse length, I'll take 0.25 inch on both sides of that line. Then at the half length, my 1 inch dart intake, I'll roll a straight line from my 1 inch dart intake to the 0.25 inch line. Please, this 1 inch dart intake I'm taking on both sides, you can choose to take as much as 1.5 inch. You can take 1 inch at the center bust side and 1.5 inch at the other part of your dart if your client is busty. Okay, so at my bust point, I'll just go ahead and connect that my dart intake line to my bust point. Please, the cuff should be very gentle. At this point, I just realized that the cuff was too deep, so I went ahead to clean it and roll out a very gentle cuff line. Then from the bust point to, I'm just also going to connect it to my dart intake to bring out the cuff as well on the other side. Okay, so at my armhole line, I went in at the halfway to the armhole. I went in by 0.5 inch, remember? So I'm just going to go ahead and roll out my armhole cuff now. After rolling my armhole cuff at the halfway through my armhole, I came down by 1.5 inch. Please let that point be there. Now I'm going to connect from my bust point to my halfway through my armhole line. Right from the bust point, I'm going to connect it to the halfway through my armhole line. Please, when you are connecting, be very sure that the cuff is not too deep. At this point, I realized that my cuff was too deep, so I went ahead to clean it, and I used the not too deep part of the ruler to make this cuff. So after making that cuff, the next cuff that we are going to make is from the bust point to that 1.5 inch that we came down by, right? And when we do that, our Princess Bustier cup is ready. I went ahead to mark the neck width of 3.5 and the neck depth of 3.5 as well. Then I used the cuffed part of my ruler to curve out the neckline. When I was done doing that, I connected the neck width to my armhole slope, the 1 inches for my armhole slope. Then from the neckline, I came down by 4 inches and I made a very gentle sweetheart curve to the arm halfway through my armhole depth. So that is going to be my yoke sweetheart curve. So at the half length, I mark the waist divide by 4. I also measured my dart intake at that point. I replaced it back and I marked my sewing allowance. I did the same thing at the blouse length. I marked the blouse, the hip divide by 4. I replaced my 0.5 inch dart intake, but I also went ahead to mark 1 inch for ease before I now marked my 2 inches sewing allowance. Then from the blouse length, I used my curved ruler to connect it to my half length like so. If you notice from the armhole length, I came up by 1.5 inch, then I connected the cup, the side cup, the way I just did now. Okay, then at the bust line, I also went ahead to confirm my bust divide by 4. After confirming my bust divide by 4, I added the necessary sewing allowance and I connected it to my half length. Okay, so at my bust point line, that line I just straightened out is my bust point line. So at my bust point line, I came down by 1.5 inch, right? The way you see me doing. Then at the bust point, I came out by 1 inch. So I'm going to connect the 1.5 inch to the 1 inch, and that will be my side dart. Okay, so how do you know how much side dart you need? The difference between your front half length and your back half length will give you your side dart. For the back part, I started off by rolling a straight line, and that will become my starting point. So I went ahead to mark my zipper allowance of 1.5 inch, and I'm going to roll a straight line. That will be my zipper line. Then I'll mark my shoulder divide by 2, same thing I used for the front, and I'm going to come down and mark my half length, which is going to be my front half length minus the 1.5 inch, right? That will be my back half length. Then I'll mark my blouse length, same thing, my blouse length, my front blouse length minus the 1.5 inch. The 1.5 inch, remember, that is what we use as our dart intake at the side bust. Okay, so I'll go ahead and roll a straight line. After rolling the straight line, I went ahead to label them. So my blouse length minus the 1.5 inch, my half length minus the 1.5 inch, then my bust point, but that line was not very necessary. So I had my shoulder divide by 2. I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and the same thing I did for the front. I also marked my armhole depth. Okay, then I'm going to roll a straight line now for my armhole depth. At my armhole depth line, I went ahead to mark my bust divide by 4. I marked out the line. Then I'm also going to divide my armhole depth by 2, the same thing I did to the front. I'm going to mark that point, right? Then I'll connect with a curve and I'll make my armhole curve. I went ahead to mark my nipple to nipple measurement divide by 4, and I'll roll a straight line. I just marked it at my half length, my bust point line, and my blouse length line to help me have a straight line. So on both sides of I'm going to take my dart. I'm going to use 0.5 inch as my dart intake at the half length. Okay, and I'll connect it with a straight line to the bust point. I also connect it with a straight line back to the blouse length. At the blouse length, I'm going to go in by 0.25 on both sides, the same thing that we did at the front. Then I'll connect it from that my half length dart intake to the 0.25 inch. Then at our armhole line divide by 2, our armhole depth divide by 2, that point I'm going to connect it with a very gentle curve to the bust point, just the way you see me doing. I'm going to connect it with a very gentle curve. Okay, so I went ahead to mark my hip divide by 4. I started off with marking my half length divide by 4. Then I replaced the dart, the 1 inches, and I also mark my sewing allowance. I'm going to do the same at the blouse length. My hip divide by 4 plus my 0.5 dart intake and my 1 inch for ease and the 1.5 inch sewing allowance, sorry, 2 inches sewing allowance, right? And I'll connect all my points together using a curved roll, the same thing I did to my front part. I also went ahead to go in by 0.5 inch at my waistline to eliminate zipper bulge. So I'm just going to connect the 0.5 inch up like so, and I'll connect it downwards as well. This is going to help eliminate any form of zipper bulge at the back of your dress. I went ahead to replace the 0.5 inch I just took out for zipper bulge at the waist area. So I replaced back the 0.5 inch. If you don't want your measurement to change at any point, if you don't want your waistline to become tighter than it should, please replace back the 0.5 inch you took out. Next, I went to the neckline of the back. I used 3.5 by 1 inch for the neckline. I took the cuff of the neckline, and I also went ahead to connect my armhole, my shoulder slope for the back. So I'll go to the side seam, and at the side seam of the blouse length, I'll come up by 1.5 inch. Then I'll curve it in just the way you see me doing to avoid your side seam allowance dangling out when you are done sewing. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing to the front part. So I'll go ahead and cut. Please watch how I'm cutting through the line so that you'll be careful when you are cutting yours. When it gets to the side allowance, I went ahead to use my hand. I close up the 1.5 inch allowance that we came down with. Okay, at this point you can use your tape and tape it if you have your tape handy. So after closing that line, you realize that your side allowance is not aligning anymore. Just use your ruler and bring out the line. And our pattern is ready. I'll just go ahead and place them on the fabric. So for the fabric, I'm going to use a zip, 1 yard of lace, 1 yard of satin. I already went ahead to iron my cotton A stay on the satin, then 1 yard of lining. I'll also iron a stay on the lining. Next, I went ahead to place the pattern on my satin, and I'm going to cut through with 0.5 inch as you see me doing. I already used my chalk to mark my under bust because I'm going to notch that point, right? Please do what I'm doing in the video. The only place I'm not going to add 0.5 inch is my side sewing allowance and the armhole, right? Those are the two places I'm not going to add my 0.5 inch. I also notch the under bust. So for the back parts, I place the back parts like so, I'm going to add 0. Please watch the part that I'm adding 0.5 inch. I'm only going to add 1/4 inch at the shoulder part, but at the neckline I'm not adding anything. The other parts I'll add my 0.5 inch. The 0.5 inch is my joining allowance and my turning allowance at the down part. At the zipper area I also add my 0.5 inch because I'm going to turn everything inside. So this is my back pattern when I was done cutting it. Okay, so I added 0.5 inch round at for the side because I realized when I cut the side pattern I didn't film that part. Next I'm going to go ahead and open my back part like this, and I will join the center back to the side back together with 0.5 inch. I'm going to join it from the down part and I'll join it all the way up the way I'm showing you. Please cut your lining, use this pattern to cut your lining and sew it the same way. After joining it by 0.5 inch, please go ahead and open it up and iron it the way you see me doing so that it will lay flat. Do the same thing to your lining. Next thing, I did my lace placement. During the lace placement, I was very intentional about how I wanted the design of this lace to turn out. So I was very careful while doing this. I suggest if your lace have any form of pattern and you would want the pattern to sit in a particular way, this is the part that you are going to be very careful about. When I was done, when I was comfortable with how I placed the lace, I went ahead to cut it. Make sure you place your lace just the way you want it to be before you go ahead and cut, because after cutting, if you're working with 1 yard of lace like I did, after cutting you cannot make a lot of corrections anymore. Next is I'm going to use my gum. I make use of uhu gum, so I'm going to use my liquid gum and I will spread it all in between the lace. I'll just spread it all around. If your lace does not have a lot of stones like mine, please make sure you can use your hemming gum, but don't use a lot of it. I'm just using this uhu gum on parts that I know the beads are much, right, so that it will not show. Be very careful about this point, or you can as well tag it with your hands. This helps the lace to be stable on, to lap with the satin and it won't shake. I'm going to go ahead and do this same thing I did here to the other side of the back part. Next thing, I used the lining and I placed it on top of the lace, just the way you see me doing. I close the lining, the neck part, the zip side, the down part and the side allowance with 1/2 inch. I flip it over, iron it properly. Then after that I went ahead to put my zip using my zipper allowance. So if you turn it, this is how the inside is going to be. So it's going to be both in the outside and in the front part. Next is we are going to work on our neck yoke. Okay, so I'm going to use this net part of the lace for the neck yoke. I folded it into 2 and I folded it into 2 again, making it a fold of 4. After arranging, I'm going to bring in my neck yoke pattern paper and I placed it just the way you see me doing. I'm going to place it properly before I start cutting. Okay, take your time when you are doing this. So I'm going to add 0.5 inch at the down part as I'm cutting, and also 0.5 inch at the armhole region. The only part I'm not going to add 0.5 inch will be the neckline. Also the shoulder part I'm adding 1/4 inch. When I was done cutting, I had 2 pieces of the neck yoke, so I'm going to place them both facing right side facing each other like this, and I will close it at the neckline. Okay, using 1/2 inch. Then I went ahead and I top stitch it at the part that is going to be the lining. Then I ironed it. Next is the front. I'm going to iron breast pad on it, so I'm marking how the breast pad will be. So at the under bust line, I came in at that under bust line first by 2.5 inch. At the bust point, I went in by 5.5 inch, and I came down by 1.5 inch. Connect the lines together, and that is going to be the shape of my breast pad for the side bustier. Then for the center bustier, I'm going to come down at the neckline. From the center bustier, my breast pad is going to be a straight line at the under bust, right? Then at the neckline, I'll just come down by 0.5 inch, and the whole of that space is going to be my breast pad. When I'm done ironing my breast pad on it, I'll go ahead and sew the join the side bust to the center bust with 0.5 inch. I'm going to start from the down part, and I'll sew it all the way up. When I was done joining, this is what I have. Then I trim off the excess breast pad at the 0.5 region that I joined. I went ahead to give it a good notch. Then I will spread that line just like so, putting my tailor's ham under it, and I will iron it to form the cup properly. Okay, so but when I'm ironing the straight part, I'm just going to lay it straight, and I iron the straight part. Next is we are going to place it on our dress form. Our dress form spoiled recently, so the leg was not standing properly. So you need a lot of pin during to do this. Thank you to my student, she was helping me pin this to the dress form. So you need to put a lot of pin. This step is very crucial. You pay attention to the under bust and make sure that it's laying flat just the way it should be. Please, even though you don't have the exact size, you can still use any dress form that you have. So when you are done pinning it, I was also very intentional about how I want the lace placement to come out. So I placed it, as I said before, if your lace have a pattern, you will be very careful while placing this. So I place it just the way I want it to be. So first of all, you are going to pay attention to the under bust area, right? So after pinning the under bust area, you take your hand smoothly through the under bust and smoothing it to the side, right? Please, you can do it just the way I am doing it here. Then there is a little dart by the side. I added a dart by the side. When we are working on this other side, I didn't notice that the camera was not filming properly. Okay, so now that we are working on this other side, so I added a little bit dart by the side. You will see how I added that dart. Just make sure that the fabric is laying on the satin just the way it is. Use your hands and follow your clothes the way it is. If you don't have a dress form, you can stuff a lot of fabrics under it, and that is also going to help you. Or you can lay this on one of your students, or maybe your staff, or if you have someone around, before you do the lace placement. But the lace placement has to be on a dress form or something that looks like someone is wearing the dress, if you get what I'm saying. After placing it, after a lot of pins, 10,000 years after after placing it the way you want, please go ahead and trim it following the pattern. Next, I'm going in with my gum. So I'm only putting this gum at the lower part and by the side, right? I'm just putting very little at the center where I know the bead is much, so that the gum will not show. If you are not working with a fully beaded lace like this, you can go ahead and hand tack everything from top to down, right? Or you can just put your tacks at the points, strategic points, including the underbust, which is very important, and the down part and the side, just to secure this lace on the dress form. Okay, so I'm still going to go in with my needle and thread, and I'm still going to tag it, especially the underbust region, and I will tag that dart I added by the side. At this point, my student was tagging the under bust area. You are going to tag the under bust area, and any other part of the dress that there is lots of bead, or you be very careful with your tagging. Okay, then you also tag that area. When we were done tagging, this is what we have. As you can see, the dress is already coming out, the Madam Blouse. Next, we remove it from the dress form, and we are going to bring in our yoke that we already sewed and ironed, and we'll place it just the way I'm going to do now. So we are going to put the center of the yoke to the center of the cloth. Okay, so the same thing, we are going to bring in our lining, and we'll place center of the lining, because we are going to sew 3 of them at the same time. Okay, so when you are done joining 3 of them all the way to this side, you are going to start from the center, sew this way and sew that way, then you top stitch, then you close the side by 1/2 inch, close the down part by 1/2 inch, flip it over and give it a good press. When you are done, you use your side seam allowance and join the front and the back together. Next thing I did was to mark the cape design. I have a little lace there that I used. So this is on a fold of 4, because I'm marking for the 2 sleeves at the same time. So there I came in by 6 inches over there. Then I came down by 4 inches. Please mark that. Then at the edge I went in by 6 inches. Please just watch what I'm doing. Though when I was done marking this cape, it was too big, I had to reduce it. So all the numbers that you are seeing here, the overall length of this cape, the length you are seeing here is 12 inches, but I ended up using 10 inches. Okay, so everything that you are seeing here, I'm also going to show you the video where I reduced it. I ended up reducing everything. So this is where I reduced it. I reduced everything by 1.5 inch. Just watch what I'm doing. I ended up reducing even the length. I used 10 inches instead for the length. So when I was done, I opened it up and I closed every part of this. I flip it to the right side. Alright, so this is the blouse. I also use satin to bias the armhole. Okay, so after biasing the armhole, giving it a good press, this is what I had. Next, I brought in the sleeve design that we cut together. I only put the satin on one part. As you can see, I just gummed the satin on it on one part. So I'm going to go ahead, the lace, please. I went ahead and marked the front, the center part. Okay, then I matched the center to the shoulder. I came in by 0.75 inch at the shoulder part and I placed it. I have a more detailed tutorial when I tag this, is in the channel. Okay, so after placing it, I'm just going to hand tag it all the way down. I have a very detailed tutorial in the channel on how I attach the sleeves. Thank you so much for watching this video. See you in my next video. Bye.